mynews.studio.
A plastic bag drifted across the Indian Ocean and set off a chain reaction, a global movement. Now, 140 countries are aiming to end single-use plastics by 2030. Is that really possible?
Today's date is 2025-10-20. Let's go back to the basics. 140 nations have just signed a binding treaty to phase out single-use plastics by 2030. Why did it take so long to reach this point?
For decades, single-use plastics were everywhere. Bags at checkout, straws in drinks, packaging around nearly everything. They were cheap and convenient. But as evidence of both environmental and health impacts accumulated, concerns grew. Countries tried to ban some items on their own, but overall plastic production kept rising. Piecemeal efforts just weren't enough.
So why did it happen now? What finally pushed countries to act together?
It came down to growing public pressure, and the data became undeniable. Microplastics are accumulating in the oceans, harming wildlife, and showing up in human blood tests. That really caught people's attention. The United Nations Environment Program played a role too, helping nudge negotiations out of years of deadlock. Ultimately, consensus was reached in Nairobi.
What does the treaty actually require? Is it enforceable or just another announcement without consequences?
It's legally binding. There are firm targets to reduce the production of single-use plastics, plus requirements for investing in biodegradable alternatives. There's also a global fund to assist developing countries, and importantly, there's an enforcement mechanism. Countries that don't comply face penalties, and progress is reviewed every year.
How will they actually track compliance? With so many countries involved, that sounds incredibly complex.
Each country reports its annual data, how much plastic it produces, imports, and how it manages waste. There's a centralized system for collecting this, and independent auditors check the reports. If a country misses its targets, penalties kick in. Those could be financial or trade-related, depending on the situation.
Let's talk alternatives. Are there real practical options to replace single-use plastics at the scale we're talking about?
There's a lot of activity in this area. For example, Ecovative is using mushrooms to create mycelium-based packaging that naturally decomposes. There's also Notpla in the UK making edible seaweed-based packaging. But the big question is whether these alternatives can scale up quickly enough to meet demand.
Are we talking about eliminating all plastics or just the single-use items?
The treaty is focused on single-use plastics, so things like bags, wrappers, drinking straws, and disposable cutlery. Plastics designed for multiple uses, such as medical equipment or durable goods, aren't covered. The strategy is to go after the most wasteful products first.
What about people and industries that depend on plastic production? How are they affected?
That's a real concern. Some regions rely heavily on jobs in plastic manufacturing. The treaty sets aside funds for retraining and economic transition. For instance, in parts of Southeast Asia, where fishing communities are hit hard by plastic pollution, there could be new roles in recycling or alternative materials, but it's not a simple transition.
Has there been resistance from industry, or are most companies adapting?
Both are happening. Some big companies are shifting toward biodegradable packaging already and announcing new goals. Others are pushing back, lobbying for slower rollouts or asking for exemptions. Basically, industries need to adapt or they'll risk penalties.
Stepping back, why does this treaty matter on a global scale? Is it only about the environment?
Plastic pollution doesn't respect borders. Microplastics travel across oceans and even reach the atmosphere. They end up in food, water, and the air we breathe. This treaty is significant because it's the first time so many countries have agreed on a coordinated approach. If it works, it could serve as a model for addressing other global problems like climate change.
Is there a risk that countries sign on for publicity but then don't follow through?
That's always a possibility with international deals. But the treaty's built-in monitoring, public reporting, and penalties are designed to reduce loopholes. Annual reviews make it harder to quietly step back.
By 2030, what would success actually look like? How will we know if this treaty is working?
We should see less plastic debris in oceans, healthier marine life, and cleaner coastlines. Ideally, microplastic levels in food and water will drop. Economically, we'll notice shifts toward alternative materials and industries. But ultimately, whether countries hit their targets is the real measure.
It's a huge undertaking. What's the main takeaway for listeners today?
Collective action can work. With the right mix of political will, innovation, and accountability, even big problems can be addressed. This treaty is a test of that idea.
So we've come full circle. A single plastic bag set off this movement. The question now is, will countries deliver on their promises? Thanks for being part of this conversation.
Thanks for tuning in. We explored the new global treaty, what it demands, the innovations underway, and the real-world impact these changes could have.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.